Today is the second day of Amazon Prime Day. There are still some really good deals to go around, so I'm going to show you guys what I found in terms of PC hardware, and it might be something you're interested in. Let's get started. Hey guys, Tiago here with Classical Technology. Remember to hit that thumbs up, subscribe with the notification bell. Alright, let's get right into the video. So I posted before on the first day of Amazon Prime Day. There were definitely several good deals. I picked up a lot of hard drives. A lot of things were on sale, like NVMe drives, 2 terabyte drives specifically. I even got a really nice WD Blue 4 terabyte hard drive. I think it was like $370, which is pretty cheap for a 4 terabyte SSD. So today, let's get into some of these deals that I found. And once again, I'm not just going to suggest garbage to you guys and junk. I know there's a lot of that going around on Amazon, especially on Prime Day. These are going to be mostly things that either I've owned myself or I have some experience. The first thing is going to be the Alienware ultra-wide 34-inch monitor. This goes all the way up to 120 hertz. Now for ultra-wide, that's certainly pretty impressive, and I did own this monitor. This is the newer version of it. Unfortunately, if you guys saw a video of mine from last year, my monitor actually broke when a 2080 GPU that I was taking some pictures of actually fell back and broke it. Look back in my videos, you'll see that video. But anyway, that was certainly one of my most favorite monitors. I think that ultra wide is a sweet spot between 1440p and 4K. Games aren't really too demanding. It's not like 4K. You can still get pretty high frame rates, especially 120 hertz. And at the same time, you have a much bigger vision. Let's say you're playing a game like Battlefield, you get to see a really nice widescreen. Not to mention, if you're doing productivity and work, you get to really see everything laid out in front of you. But just keep in mind, of course, it is going to take up a lot more desk space than like even a 27-inch monitor, just because it's so wide. But you can get a monitor mount. I got one myself as well, and I mounted it on my desk, so that way it's really out of the way, and you can really take advantage of the bigger real estate. And this, of course, it's not a cheap monitor by any means. Right now it's at $849, so it's definitely a pretty good price, because a monitor like this will literally last you years. The only other monitors that are going to be a little bit better than this are going to be like the newer HDR monitors, like the Asus ultra wide monitor, but those are ridiculously expensive, like over $2,000. And I really think you get pretty much like 98% of the performance and of the visual aesthetics of a monitor like this at a much cheaper price. So it's definitely one I can really recommend. And if you're looking for a little bit of a smaller monitor, but still a gaming powerhouse, this ViewSonic monitor, 165 hertz, 1440p, $384, really a fantastic deal. Usually if you get something like this, let's say you're buying it like from Asus or Acer, these generally are going to cost you well over $500, sometimes over $600. So $384 to have these type of specs, definitely very, very nice. 1440p is still, I think, the sweet spot for most gamers. A lot of people are actually upgrading from 1080p just because GPUs are getting more powerful. Not everybody wants to go to 4K, so 1440p, if you don't want ultra wide, is certainly going to be the sweet spot for you, where you can get a little nicer graphic resolution, make your graphics look nicer, but at the same time it doesn't tax your system as much as 4K does. So it's certainly a sweet spot, and at this price I think it's a fantastic monitor. If you're looking for a processor for your gaming computer and you need it now, or you're maybe a little bit more on a budget, the only two options I really found that were interesting. First, the budget option is going to be the Intel 10100. This is going to be a 4-core, 8-thread, so it does have hyper-threading. The 10th generation Intel chips do have hyper-threading now on these lower end models. It is an i3, so that's definitely an improvement from last generation, something like a 9100K. If you're on the budget, I mean $99 for like a really nice entry-level gaming CPU, it's going to be hard to go wrong with this. I don't even think AMD has something that really beats this at this price. At $99 to get a 4-core, 8-thread CPU, I think it's pretty nice. It's not too expensive. It's not going to get terribly hot, so it'll be fairly easy to cool. And if you remember a few years ago, a 6700K, 7700K, it was basically just a 4-core, 8 threads. Of course, those were a little bit better bin, so they're going to clock a little higher, but at $99, this definitely definitely shows you how far we've come not only with CPU prices, but as well as performance. Now, there are new CPUs coming out in November from AMD. Now, those are going to be a little bit more expensive than this. The cheapest one they've announced so far is the 5600X, which is $299. So that's a whole different ball game. I think it's going to be a while before they really start getting more competitive budget SKUs out there. So this Intel processor is actually not that bad of an idea. Speaking about AMD Ryzen, we have the 3800 XT. Now, the XT variants just clock higher, which was pretty much AMD's weakness in gaming. Most of this they have addressed with the new up-and-coming Zen 3. I would recommend that you guys most likely wait for that to come out, but it certainly is going to be a little bit more expensive than something like this 3800 XT. Even the 5600X is going to start at $299, and the other processors go up from there all the way up to $799 for the 5950X. But if you needed a CPU now, and one that actually does very well in gaming, the 3800 XT, I think it's AMD's current best champion in terms of gaming. Of course, this one's not necessarily going to beat the high-end Intel chips yet. I think that's definitely a pretty good price. Even when the new CPUs come out, like the 5800X, which is the successor to this, it's going to be considerably more expensive. I think it's around like $449. And yes, it is going to perform better. Zen 3 have a lot of improvements. So if you can wait, it probably is worth that cost. But in case you need to buy a CPU now, this isn't that bad of an option. It's going to be your best gaming bet. About CPU coolers. Now, liquid cooling in AIOs, aside from custom loop and water cooling, which can get pretty expensive, AIO liquid coolers, it's actually one of my favorite ways to cool your CPU. This Cooler Master one is on sale for $99. That's actually a pretty good price. It's a 240 millimeter version, and it does come with these which means addressable RGB fans. These basically mean that they have a lot more RGB lights than the previous version. That way it's going to give you a little more pizzazz in your system, and especially a 240 millimeter cooler. That's basically 220 millimeter fans. It's going to give you a lot better performance than just like a stock cooler that comes with your CPU, or just a single 120 millimeter cooler. Of course, you are paying a little bit for that RGB and the aesthetics, but Cooler Master certainly is a very good company. They put out a lot of great products, especially cases. Like yesterday, we recommended one of their H500 cases. Has fantastic airflow. Something like this would certainly pair very well with that case, and I think a 240 millimeter cooler like this should be able to cool even some of the more demanding CPUs. Let's talk about some peripherals. Now, the Logitech G502, the SE, the Hero version, $34.99. That's a really great price. The G502 has actually been around for several years, and it's been sort of the overall favorite mouse of a lot of people. Now, remember, it is going to be a little bit of a heavier mouse, so it's not like a very light gaming mouse for like really fast games, but it certainly is one of the most well-rounded and ergonomic gaming mice that you can buy, and especially at $34.99, that's like a pretty incredible deal. Yesterday, we posted the Razer Death Adder, which is the white version, for $19.99. I mean, that's pretty crazy already. If you want to step up a little bit, I do like this Logitech G502 for like more general use. I used to use one of the original versions years ago, and then this one is the SE, the special edition Hero version. So certainly for $34.99, I don't think you're going to find too much better of a mouse. And I do prefer Logitech software over Razer. Razer is always a little bit too intrusive. Like as soon as you plug the mouse in, it asks you to download software. At least the Logitech, you can sort of choose to do that. It's a little bit less intrusive, but in general, a fantastic mouse. And at $34.99, you certainly can't go wrong. And then for a gaming keyboard at $89.99, the Razer Tournament Edition, the Huntsman. This is a fantastic keyboard. I had the Huntsman Elite, which was the bigger version. This is going to be the 10 keyless, so it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit better on your desk, and if you have to move it around between places, certainly a lot easier. I really like the Razer keyboards. Like I said before, the only thing I don't like too much is the software, just because you got to log in. It's a little intrusive, but you don't have to download the software. You can just click cancel. Overall, it's a very good keyboard, and something like this will pair nicely with the recommendations from yesterday, like the Razer Viper mouse, which still today I think is one of my favorite gaming mice, and especially for general use. Ergonomically, it just feels great. In fact, as I showed yesterday, it's my main mouse for everything, for doing work and gaming. I also have the Ultimate version, which is the wireless. I'll link it down below. It's from yesterday's video, but something like that certainly will pair well with the Razer Tournament Edition, and at $89.99, that's a pretty good price. And And also from Razer is the microphone, the Siren. This is going to be great for streamers. $65.99. I think it's going to be a great entryway from somebody who wants to do content, somebody who wants to stream. You want a little bit better quality mic than maybe something that's on a laptop or like a webcam mic. This is going to be really good. $65.99. You get a pretty good mic. Of course, you can spend more money. There's like Blue Yeti. There are various competitors. But I think for this price, especially having something from Razer to get into maybe the streaming game, maybe you want to stream on YouTube or Twitch or something like that, certainly is a great entryway. The Gigabyte Aorus Elite for $159. X570. That's really awesome because this is actually a motherboard that you're going to be able to pair with the new Ryzen 5000, or if you get the previously recommended, the 3800 XT, that goes really well with it. Gigabyte is a really great company for motherboards. Over the years, they've improved their BIOS, so now they're a lot more competitive in terms of the interface. They have a lot of great features, and I think to get an X570 motherboard for $159.99, that's a really good price, especially considering since you're going to be a little bit future-proof up to Ryzen 5000. And there are also two high-end laptops that I did see also Amazon Prime Day. There weren't a really huge selection. These are two that actually have some pretty decent specs, and they seem to be a little bit cheaper than they were before. Just remember, these still are going to have the 20 series GPU, even if some of them are a little higher, like a 2070 Super or a 2080. We haven't really heard anything about the laptop 30 series GPU, but of course, in the future you'll be able to get a 3070 or 3080, but certainly with like the stock issues on the individual GPUs, this is something that's going to take well into next year. So if you need a laptop now, these are definitely priced a little bit better than they were before, and they certainly have a pretty good specs. The ones that are a little bit cheaper maybe are going to be around 16 gigabytes of RAM, i7 processor. It's going to have something like the 2070 Super, a 1 terabyte SSD, which is actually really important considering the laptop is going to be a little bit less upgradable in terms of hard drive space, and games nowadays certainly take up a lot of room. And if you go for something that's a little higher end than like the 2000 something range, MSI also has some of these laptops up for sale. These are going to have more RAM, like 32 gigabytes of RAM, a little bit beefier GPU and CPU. This is the second Prime Day, so a lot of items that I saw from yesterday, a lot of things did sell out that were pretty well priced, but some are still available. So take a look and let me know in the description below what you were able to get, what you were looking for, and I'll see you guys on the next video.